On the news tonight, Governor Sheriff Oborevwori calls for more commitment in the fight to eliminate malaria. Federal government warns against transporting foreign passengers without valid visas. Daughter of Nollywood actress reunites with mother, shares harrowing experience. And abroad, 7 migrants found dead in Libyan desert. Good evening and thank you so much for joining us on Delta TV Main News. I am Blessing Usiagbada. The state governor, Right Honorable Sheriff Oborevwori, has called on stakeholders to show more commitment in the fight against malaria in the state and country. Governor Oborevwori made the call while flagging off the distribution of the insecticide treated net replacement mask campaign at the event center Asaba, the state capital. The governor, represented by the Deputy Chief of Staff, Government House, Sir Chris Osakwe, said the malaria prevalence rate in Delta State stood at 10%, which was commendable, adding, however, that there was need for intensified efforts to eliminate malaria totally. He noted that Nigeria accounted for approximately 25% of Africa's malaria burden, while the 2015 Nigeria Malaria Indicator Survey revealed that the national prevalence dropped to 27% from 42% in 2010. Governor Oborevwori said Nigeria recorded nearly 110 million clinically diagnosed cases annually, stressing that malaria was responsible for about 30% of child deaths and 11% of maternal deaths in the country each year. He affirmed that malaria remained one of the most common and preventable public health issues, as it had continued to claim the lives of the vulnerable, especially children under 5 and pregnant women, and thanked partners for their effort in combating the malaria scourge, even as he reiterated his administration's determination to eliminate malaria in collaboration with partners. The Coordinating Minister of Health and Social Welfare, Professor Mohammed Pate, represented by Mr. Raphael Onyilo, noted that malaria remained a major public health challenge in Nigeria, saying the country contributed about 27% to the global malaria burden, 31% of global deaths, and currently has a prevalence of 22% in the country. The State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Joseph Onacheme, said the flag-off was a current call for action as it marked a renewed commitment to protect Deltans from the scourge of malaria through the widespread distribution of insecticide-treated nets. Representatives of partners, including the Catholic Relief Services, Society for Family Health, Mr. John Ochole, BASF, Dr. Godwin Adiegbon, and the World Health Organization said over 3.2 million nets would be distributed and urged the people to use the net in order to curb diseases associated with mosquitoes, adding that the insecticide-treated nets were part of the control measures to fight malaria. The National Coordinator, National Malaria Elimination Program, Dr. Nnenna Ogbulafo, represented by Dr. Mary Esema, said the campaign marked a vital step in the unwavering commitment of the federal government and its partners to safeguard every citizen of Nigeria, especially the most vulnerable, against the devastating effects of malaria, by promoting the ownership and consistent use of ITNs. The State Health Educator, Ministry of Health, Mr. Emmanuel Odejero, enlightened the gathering on how best to utilize the nets and advised against its misuse. Highlight of the event was the demonstration of how to sleep inside the net by the governor's representatives and the presentation of the nets. The Minister of Steel Development, Prince Shaibu Abubakar Audu, has reiterated the federal government's resolution to ensure that all its legacy steel assets are resuscitated to the National Delta Steel Company, Udu local government area. Prince Audu said he has been mandated by President Bola Tinubu to intervene and resolve all the issues holding steel assets down and ensure that the noble vision of founding fathers was realized, projecting that once in full operation capacity, the company would generate over 500 direct jobs and 10,000 indirect jobs for Nigerians. The minister noted that President Tinubu was aware of the critical role of the steel sector and had remained resolute in promoting policies to support the industry. The The Chief Executive Officer of the Premium Steel and Mines Limited, Sahil Daswani, and others who spoke, said the company's current investment into the steel plant and future expansion plans would not only produce high-quality finished steel products for export markets of West Africa, but will continue to attract global investor interest, driven by its strong growth potential, as they have successfully engaged 500 Global Steel Marker as a partner. They pleaded with the federal government to prevail on the relevant authorities to allocate mining licenses for suitable iron ore deposit to PSML for unhindered local access to raw materials, amongst other requests. President Bola Tinubu has appointed Yazid Danfulani as the Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of the Nigerian Agricultural Insurance Corporation, NAIC. Danfulani's appointment was approved by President Tinubu in a letter issued by the Secretary to the Government of the Federation, George Akume, on May 22nd. Akume, in a letter, said Danfulani's appointment takes effect from May 21, 2025. The new NAIC's MD's appointment will last for an initial 4-year term in line with the provisions of the NAIC Act. He is expected to use his expertise to provide insurance cover for the nation's agricultural sector against natural disasters, diseases, pests, and drought. During his time as the MD of NAIC, Danfulani is also expected to ensure a valid insurance framework for Nigerian farmers and expand access to agricultural insurance for all. An administrator and former banker, Danfulani holds a master's degree in arts and management from the University of Hertfordshire, United Kingdom. Having worked at the Central Bank of Nigeria, Danfulani also served as the Zamfara State Commissioner of Commerce and Industry. About 250 persons living with disabilities across the country will receive grants worth 50,000 million naira to support their small businesses. The wife of the president, Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, disclosed this at an RHI held on Friday at the International Conference Center in Umuahia, Abia State, where she oversaw the handover of food supplies to the state RHI coordinator and wife of the state governor, Mrs. Priscilla Oti. Senator Tinubu, who was represented by the wife of the vice president and vice chairman of RHI, Hajiya Nana Shetima, said the programs were designed to complement the renewed hope agenda of the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and to improve the lives of Nigerians across the country. The information is contained in a statement issued by the Special Assistant to the President, Media and ICT, Office of the Vice President, Kwapshi Bata Haman. She also said that to help girls stay in school throughout their menstrual cycle, the Flow with Confidence program will distribute 10,000 packs of sanitary pads to young girls, particularly those in rural communities. Senator Tinubu reaffirmed the President's commitment to addressing food insecurity and empowering the nation's most vulnerable populations through the expansion of the RHI Food Outreach Scheme. She affirmed that the program, which officially began on March 8, 2024, would continue to deliver critical food assistance to women, persons with disabilities, and marginalized communities across the country. The federal government has trained 535 Nigerian youths in welding, fabrication, and metallurgy as part of its plan to reposition the country's steel and metal sector for economic transformation. The capacity building initiative tagged bootcamp training on welding and fabrication, industrial foundering and metallurgy and instrumentation, control and mechanical maintenance ended on Friday at the Metallurgical Training Institute on Onitsha, Anambra State. Minister of Steel Development, Shaibu Audu, who presided over the closing ceremony, said the bootcamp represented a significant step in the federal government's strategic effort to revive the steel industry and equip young Nigerians with the skills required to contribute meaningfully to the national economy. He described the training as part of the administration's broader plan to build a pipeline of skilled patriotic professionals who will champion the growth of the emerging metallurgical and steel sectors in Nigeria. Reeling out the achievements of the ministry under his watch, the minister restated the administration's commitment to building a $1 trillion economy by 2030, as envisioned by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Director of the Metallurgical Inspectorate Department, Engineer Frederick Ewa, in his remarks noted that the bootcamp attracted 258,833 applications from across Nigeria. He said 700 youths were selected through a rigorous merit-based process and trained in 4 intensive batches at MTI, which he described as a citadel of excellence in methodological education and practice. Speaking on behalf of the graduating trainees, the General Course Representative, Esemwede Omori, expressed gratitude to the federal government for the initiative and pledged to be worthy stewards of the skills acquired. The boot camp forms part of the ministry's broader strategy to build a sustainable workforce that will drive the growth of Nigeria's metallurgical and steel sectors, both seen as pivotal to achieving long-term industrial development and economic prosperity. The federal government has warned international airlines operating in Nigeria to desist from transporting passengers without valid entry visas, landing and exit cards, or face penalties. Minister of Interior Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo stated this at a sensitization program held in Lagos on Friday. He said Nigeria's commitment to facilitating travel through its new e-visa platform must not come at the expense of national security, emphasizing the government's firm stance on border security that no foreigner should be allowed entry into Nigeria without a valid visa. Dr. Tunji-Ojo appealed to the Nigerian Civil Aviation Authority, NCAA, to enforce strict compliance with the 2025 Nigeria visa policy, noting that such act is not acceptable in the UK, US, Canada, and other climes, and will not be acceptable in Nigeria anymore. The Minister of Information and National Orientation, Alhaji Mohammed Idris, has announced the establishment of a UNESCO-approved Category 2 Media and Information Literacy MIL Institute in Nigeria, the first of its kind globally. Alhaji Idris made the announcement on Friday while receiving the President of the Nigerian Union of Journalists, NUJ, Alhaji Al-Hassan Yahaya, who paid him a courtesy visit in Abuja. He said the institute will train journalists, students, and citizens to critically access digital content, counter misinformation, and promote responsible media engagement, adding that the federal government is working closely with the UN Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, to sensitize the digital space while preserving freedom of expression. The minister expressed concern over the growing use of AI to create deep fake videos that falsely depict public officials in compromising situations, and called on the NUJ to support federal government's effort to combat fake news and misinformation. He congratulated the NUJ on its 70th anniversary and reaffirmed the Tinubu's administration's commitment to press freedom. The NUJ President Yahaya, in his remarks, commended President Bola Tinubu for appointing a media professional as an information minister and pledged the union's support in promoting the administration's achievement. He intimated him on activities planned to mark the NUJ's 70th anniversary, where the minister is expected to serve as chief host. President of the Nigeria Association of Women Journalists, NAWOJ, Comrade Aisha Ibrahim, has called for special considerations for female journalists covering the Hajj beat. Comrade Ibrahim made the call in a statement issued in Saudi Arabia. She said covering the Hajj was fulfilling as it not only provided an opportunity to perform the Hajj, which is one of the 5 pillars of Islam, but also presented an opportunity to serve humanity, adding, however, that covering the spiritual exercise remained one of the most difficult beats, given the physical stress for 35 to 40 days. The president, who is on an official assignment to cover the Hajj for her state, Borno State, as the Director of Information, Borno State Hajj Commission, emphasized that there are many issues and occurrences concerning women during the Hajj that could best be handled by only women. She noted that Hajj is a gathering of people with diverse cultures and backgrounds, some of whom usually face different challenges during the exercise, and urged the National Hajj Commission, as well as those of the state, to put such considerations in future plannings. The NAWOJ president also urged states to borrow the Borno State model, which usually had both male and female journalists covering the Hajj exercise every year. Hajj is a gathering of millions of Muslim faithful from all over the world and has continued to provide opportunity to meet people from different parts of the world, fostering relationships with the outside world and broadening knowledge. Meanwhile, the national president of the Nigerian Association of Women Journalists, NAWOJ, Dr. Aisha Ibrahim Bura, has called on female journalists to continue to highlight issues affecting women in their reportage. Aisha Bura stated this in Port Harcourt during a high-level consultative forum tagged IPC and NAWOJ consultation, advancing female journalists' impact report of women issues in education and democracy. The national president, represented by the Deputy National President, Dr. Lillian Okonkwo Ogabu, said NAWOJ was collaborating with the International Press Center, IPC, the Guild of Corporate Online Publishers, and other partners to build the capacity of female editors, producers, presenters, and senior media executives from across print, broadcast, and online platforms, adding that the training was a way of achieving one of the core values of NAWOJ. She urged female journalists across the country to amplify women's voices and issues in their various medium. The National Secretary NAWOJ, Dr. Wasila Laden, urged women journalists not to be discouraged by cultural or religious norms that tended to limit them, but work to change the narrative in the style of reporting female candidates and issues affecting women, noting that it would go a long way in increasing women's visibility and representation in both political processes and governance. The Executive Director, IPC, Mr. Lanre Arogundade, noted that consultative forums were part of IPC's strategic efforts to empower women journalists as key agents for broader gender empowerment and political inclusion. The program is part of ongoing efforts to enhance democratic participation and elevate women's voices in Nigeria's political landscape, is amid at strengthening the professionalism of female journalists in reporting women-focused issues to election governance and democratic process. The National Hajj Commission of Nigeria, NACON, Ulama team has organized a special prayer for President Bola Tinubu and Nigerian leaders for Allah to assist them to curb insecurity and transform the country. The Chairman Council of Imams and Alfas at Etiosa, Lagos State, Sheikh Afeni Yusuf Abdul Bari, stated this while speaking with newsmen in Medina on Friday. Mr. Abdul Bari said the essence was to pray for the nation and its leaders, particularly the President, for the good work that he has been doing, adding that the ulamas were chosen for pilgrims' enlightenment from the southwest by NACON. A member of the Council of Imams in Lagos, Mr. Abdul-Bari, commended the NACON's airlift operation, especially the feat recorded in its Medina office in areas of pilgrims' reception, hotel accommodations, and feeding, noting that the airlift operation had moved a step forward with better coordination. He urged pilgrims to abide by the rules and regulations of the Saudi Arabian authorities and that of the Nigerian government. The Nigerian Education Loan Fund has said over 550,000 loan applications were received in 1 year. The fund made this known in a statement to mark 1 year since its launch on May 24, 2024. The implementation of the student loan scheme is President Bola Tinubu's flagship project in the education sector. Barely a month after his inauguration as president, President Tinubu signed the Access to Higher Education Act, which created a legal framework for granting loans to indigent or low-income Nigerians to facilitate the payment of their fees in Nigerian tertiary institutions. The law reenacted and created the Nigerian Education Loan Fund. The Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, has warned the federal government to honor the 2009 federal government ASU agreement or face a nationwide industrial action. ASU President Mr. Chris Piwuna issued a warning at a news conference on Friday in Abuja. Mr. Piwuna said 9 critical issues remained unresolved, including the stalled renegotiation process since 2017, while stating the withheld salaries from the 2022 or 2022 strike period and unpaid entitlements related to the integrated payroll and personnel information system. He frowned at the delayed release of revitalization funds and unpaid earned academic allowances. Mr. Piwuna said despite the promises to provide 150 billion naira to universities and adjust irregular allowances by 2026, the commitments were yet to be fulfilled. He called for a national education summit to address funding, autonomy, and academic welfare and urged Nigerians and global allies to support their struggle. ASU President reiterated their openness to dialogue, adding, however, that they will not accept further rights violations. The Nigeria Customs Service has recorded a revenue of 1.3 trillion naira in the first quarter of 2025, more than double the 600 billion naira collected during the same period in 2023. The Comptroller General of Customs, Bashir Adeniyi, attributed the growth to transformative reforms under President Bola Tinubu's renewed hope agenda. A statement issued on Saturday by the presidential spokesman, Bayo Onanuga, said that Adeniyi made the revelation in an upcoming State House documentary marking the president's second anniversary. Adeniyi highlighted that the revenue surge emanated from improved technological deployment, enhanced port operations, tightened enforcement on revenue leakages, and a renewed culture of accountability across customs commands. He disclosed that the service is preparing to launch the e-customs modernization project, adding that a $3.2 billion initiative will digitize cargo processing, surveillance, and payment systems across Nigerian ports and borders. Mr. Adeniyi added that the newly launched Authorized Economic Operator Program is now onboarding pre-vetted importers, allowing compliant businesses faster processing and reducing port congestions. He said to ease trade and reduce business costs, the NCS is fast-tracking the rollout of the National Single Window, stressing that the digital portal will integrate all government agencies involved in cargo clearance. The CG added that clearance timelines at Apapa and Tinkan ports have already dropped from 21 days to 7 to 10 days for complaint importers. Adeniyi stated that the Customs Service is also undergoing internal transformation with over 1,800 officers trained in advanced data analytics, risk profiling, and artificial intelligence. You're watching Delta TV Main News. Still to come, daughter of Nollywood actress reunites with mother, shares harrowing experience as victim of human trafficking. In the world news, 7 migrants found dead in Libyan desert. Details of this story and many more will come after the short break. Please stay tuned. Welcome back to Delta TV Main News. The global scene is next as we'll join our world news desk.
Union Trade Commissioner Maros Sefcovic has said the 27-member bloc is committed to securing a trade deal with the U.S. based on respect, not threats. It comes after U.S. President Donald Trump threatened to slap a 50% tariff on all goods sent to the U.S. from the European Union. The EU's trade chief, after a call with the U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer and Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick, said the European Union is fully engaged and committed to securing a deal that works for both. He noted that the EU-US trade is unmatched and must be guided by mutual respect, not threats, adding that they stood ready to defend their interests. Pope Leo XIV took his message of building bridges and promoting dialogue to the Roman Curia today in his first audience with members of the Catholic Church's governing body. Reports say the late Pope Francis had sometimes difficult relations with the Curia and Vatican officials, accusing them early in his papacy of spiritual Alzheimer and a lust for power. The new pontiff, the first from the United States, in a speech, said that his inaugural meeting was an opportunity to thank them for all their work. The Pope spent 2 decades working in Peru, but for the past 2 years was head of the Vatican department responsible for appointing bishops worldwide. At least 7 Sudanese migrants were found dead yesterday after their vehicle broke down and left them stranded for days deep in the Libyan desert. Director of the Kufra Ambulance and Emergency Services, Ibrahim Belhassan,